Hello and welcome to Technology Tuesdays. This month we're going to be talking about Twitter. And just as a reminder, Technology Tuesdays are run every month, and the face-to-face session takes place the last Tuesday of each month between 2 and 3 p.m. here at DePaul. And then I turn these into short videos on the web, which can be found online at www.depaul.edu/tilde-jmore, or you can search for them on iTunes U. To begin with, Twitter is a little bit like Marmite. It's something you're either going to hate or love, but you don't really understand it unless you try it. So let's begin with an overview of what Twitter is. Twitter is a microblogging service. It's a way that you can send messages of no more than 140 characters. So if you think blogging is too rapid, Twitter is blogging on steroids. In some respects it's similar to email or SMS or instant messenger, and it's something that's taking off this year. You might be asking yourself why it is so insanely popular at the moment. From my perspective, this is down to 3 reasons. The first one is it's simple to use but very powerful. The second one is that it's extensible. It has an open API which allows other programs and applications to interact and to use Twitter. And then the last one is it is quick. Basically, Twitter is a real-time application. So if you throw these 3 things together, you create an incredibly useful application. To begin with, you need to create a Twitter account. So on screen I have 2 examples. On the left there's my personal Twitter account, and on the right there's one I'm using for a class here at DePaul called Marketing 595. So let's jump out of what we're doing here and show you how those look through a web browser. So here's my account on the left, and what I've done is I've uploaded a background image to create a little bit of personality to what's going on here. At the top here is where I can put my tweet messages out into the internet. So let me just quickly type in one now. And there's a slight typo there, so let's fix that and send that. That has now gone out to anyone who is subscribed to my tweets. On the right hand side of the screen we can see some basic navigation. We have my homepage, and then below that @donesurfing indicates messages that's been sent to me. Below that we have direct messages, which are private messages sent to me, and I've deleted a few here so I haven't embarrassed myself by recording this. Below that are favorites, which are messages that I can save for later. And then down here we can see people who are being followed and I'm following. And these are represented by these little options up here on the right hand side of the screen. Basically those people who are following are people you subscribe to. You see their messages. And then followers over here are people who are subscribed to you. They see the messages, the tweets that you create. So let's jump in here and you'll see some of the people that I'm following. These are people whose messages will show up on my Twitter account. So at the top I have Lawrence Lessig, and if I click on his username, this will take me to his Twitter page. Now, demonstrated a second ago, there are 2 types of messaging that are available on Twitter. The default is public. Anything that you write is available to anyone on the internet to see and read. Or you can have protected messages. The direct message allows you to send something that is only between you and the recipient. However, I think that's probably not the best way to use Twitter. There are other communication systems out there that allow you to send private messages. Twitter works best when you send public messages. And here's one of the ways that Twitter works effectively. Twitter has a concept called a hashtag. When you send your message to others on Twitter, you can, within that message, have the pound or hash sign followed by some text that tags that message. Here, context or grouping is edited to your message, and this allows other people to go in and they can collate the conversations, the individual tweets where people are talking about a certain concept. So to demonstrate that, let me show you hashtags.org. This is a website where we can search for particular hashtags. And recently I was at a conference at DePaul, and we created a series of hashtags for our conversations here. So if I search for KMS-social, we'll see the grouped conversations that are going on. So here, these are individual users on Twitter, but here we have collapsed their conversations all into one grouping here. And this is something I use in the classroom quite often. It's a great way to organize content. The second feature of Twitter is the ability to reply to somebody. So what you can do is you can go into your Twitter account and you can reply to a particular username. So let me show you how that might work. So I'm going back into my homepage here. If I send a message to MKT595, this is how I can reply to somebody. So they will be alerted that I have sent them a message. But we can do something more powerful than merely sending messages to each other. We can also retweet, which is to spread virally messages that we think are particularly important and relevant. For example, on the screen here we have Tim O'Reilly, who is retweeting a message that he received from Seng Seng. And here he's able to broadcast this message to his network of people who are subscribing to his messages. And it's appropriate etiquette here to make sure that the person who tweeted the original message is recognized. So here Seng Seng is in the tweet, and people who are subscribing to Tim O'Reilly will perhaps discover this character and they might decide to follow them. And I mentioned earlier you could send private messages. So the format for doing this on Twitter is to use the letter D and then follow that by the username and send your message. You don't need an @ sign in this situation. If you're using the main Twitter interface, you can also use a drop-down navigation which will allow you to select from your list of users that you interact with. Now that was a very quick overview of Twitter. There's more on Twitter than I could reasonably show you in a short video. Highly suggest that you set up an account and start to play around with things. But let me give you an idea of some of the other opportunities that are available to you if you decide to use Twitter. And from an academic perspective, the two areas I think that are of most interest are search and research. Twitter has a basic search engine that they purchased a couple of years ago. This was formerly known as Surmise, and this was a company that they acquired in 2008 for $15 million in cash and stock. The Twitter search engine is a great way to get an idea of what people are talking about and thinking. So again, let me jump out of what I'm doing here and go into the Twitter search engine. If I type in DePaul, we'll see what people are talking about in terms of DePaul at the moment. So the first one is perhaps not the nicest thing to say. Somebody's saying, I hope the swine flu breaks out at DePaul before class tonight. And then looking down, we have some people who are listening to a radio show at DePaul. Somebody's taking a T-Mobile survey. Lots of information about how people are interacting with DePaul. Some of these might be good things, some of these might be bad things. There might be some potential students who are unhappy with DePaul, and in those situations I would highly suggest somebody at DePaul got in contact with them to find out what the problem is and see if they can fix things. Or it might be some information about something that is valuable and interesting that's taking place at DePaul. This might be something to retweet and share with others. But you can see from this simple example, we're getting a very good idea about how people are talking about particular keywords. That is definitely one of the advantages to using Twitter. Even if you don't create a Twitter account, if you are to use their search engine, you get a very good idea of what's going on in the world and what people are talking about. There's a similar service at TweetScan. Again, you can go in and you can search for a particular topic or concept and see what people are talking about on Twitter. Now, one of the nice things that you can do with both of those services is you can grab an RSS feed and subscribe to that in the reader of your choice. Going back to our previous example, over here on the right-hand side of the screen, we can see that there is an RSS feed. I can take that, and if I copy that link and paste that into my RSS feeder, as people start to talk about DePaul, I will have those tweets automatically updating my reader account, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, moving on, there's another service which I think is highly useful for doing some basic research, and this is the site you see on the screen at the moment. Tupular. What this does is it gives you essentially a sort of tag cloud, an idea of what people are talking about at the moment. And as I'm creating this recording, we can see that Mother's Day is featuring very highly on the list here, but this is conversations that are taking place in the immediate 2 hours. If I choose a longer time period, perhaps a week, we can see that people are talking about swine flu and Susan Boyle. And let's go back a little bit further, the past 30 days. Again, Susan Boyle is featuring very highly, swine flu, Ashton Kutcher, and Happy Earth Day. So you can use this as a way of informing you as you decide to create projects or exercises that deal with popular concepts in your classes. Moving on, there are some insidious things that you can do on Twitter. Generally with Twitter, if you decide to follow somebody, if you decide to subscribe to their tweets, the person you're following is alerted to the fact. A message is sent to them that says this particular individual is following you on Twitter. If you want to follow somebody anonymously, you could use a service like TweetStalk.com. Following on from that theme, let's demonstrate some of the crash commercialization that's taking place on Twitter. I won't show these in great detail, but there's a service called TweetAd which is looking to commercialize, to monetize Twitter. Or we have services like What's Your Tweet Worth, which basically will look at your Twitter account and work out how popular you are and then extend a bid to use Twitter to advertise their services. Now, Twitter is renowned for going up and going down. It isn't necessarily the most stable system that's out there. And for corporations that are looking to use something like Twitter with a greater degree of uptime, there are some options available. So on screen, I'm just going to quickly demonstrate some of those. We have Presently, which is one option. We have Yammer, and then we have QuickCom. These again are ways that you could use something like Twitter within the corporation, and you'd have to pay for this, but this would give you a greater degree of control and reliability. And again, because this is a video and I have less time to demonstrate everything, I just want you to know that there are ways that we can track usage of Twitter. If you are putting links, URLs, into your tweets that you send out to folks, you can use services like TweetBurner to see how many people click on those links. The TweetBurner interface allows you to shorten your URL so it doesn't take up too much space in your tweet. And as I say, when somebody clicks on that link, it provides a record that you can look at after the fact. This is very useful if you want to have an idea of how viral or how well your tweets are going. Now, the Twitter interface, the web interface, isn't particularly helpful, I think. I think there are better ways to interact with Twitter, and this would be through using an application. So on the desktop, I think there are better programs out there. I'm a Mac user, and at the moment I'm using Nambu, but when I'm using my Windows machine, I'm using 12. These are programs that you can download for free. You put in your Twitter account details and password, and it then allows you to interact with your tweets, your Twitter system. So let me demonstrate how Nambu looks on the Mac. So let's minimize all these and bring up Nambu. So over here on the screen we have 3 accounts, and I'm just going to highlight these. I have my Dunsurfing personal account, and then I have 2 work accounts, Marketing 595 and Practical Internet Marketing. So the nice thing you can see immediately is Nambu allows me to aggregate many Twitter accounts. If I expand them, we have something that looks a little bit similar to an email interface. Home is showing us the various Twitter accounts that I've subscribed to. So here we're seeing new posts, and we can see that 3 are unread. So if I navigate down the screen, those 3 disappear. Where it says mentions, these are messages where people have replied or mentioned my name in their tweets. Direct are direct messages to me. Sent shows the messages that I've sent out. And then favorites is where I've saved messages to come in later. Underneath people, I can see followers and following. So everything is laid out in a way that's a little bit easier to interact with. In a similar way, I've got my 2 work accounts down here so I can see what's going on. And even better, down here, I can save searches. So at the moment I can see what trends are. I can see that many people are using the hashtag swine flu and the rescue. And then down here I've saved hashtags that I've used. So we have the KMS social that I mentioned earlier, and some searches that I've done here. So I'm looking to see if anyone is using the term practical internet marketing in any of their tweets. I find that Nambu is a way that I can be more productive on Twitter. What I typically do is I'll switch on my computer in the morning, open up Nambu, and just have a quick scan of what people are saying and doing on Twitter. And I can get through this process fairly quickly. I'll duck in and out of Nambu during the day, but I'll also use mobile applications. And this again is where Twitter shines. I'm a Blackberry user, so I can download free programs such as Twitterberry or Tiny Twitter, and these allow me to tweet through a mobile device. And what I find myself doing is using my mobile device to read various websites. So I might be traveling home on the L in the evening, and I see an article that's on the New York Times that I want to share with colleagues and students. Now, typically, I might make a mental note to do this, and the next day I go into my email box, compose a message, work out the right recipients to send this to, and send something out. Unfortunately, I sort of forget to do that, or some other task is more important and I sort of push that off to the end of the day, at which point it's less relevant. With Twitter, if I'm reading something on a website, I can copy and paste the URL and put it into a tweet and send it out almost immediately. And I've noticed that this way I'm sharing information in a way that's more relevant and more valuable to my colleagues and students here at DePaul. The nice thing is I notice on Twitter I'll send something out and sometimes I'll get a reply back immediately where somebody has a follow-on question or comment. I can also do this on the iPhone or iPod Touch. There are 3 clients that I like in particular. Again, we have Nambu, which was available for the Mac OS X, being available on the iPhone, iPod platform. But there's also Twitterific and TwitterFon. These are great programs that you can download for free, and you can, again, sort of sign into your Twitter account, send messages, search, and sort of interact with the fun features that Twitter provides. So what exactly do I do with Twitter? Well, for the classes that I teach, what I found is most effective is to share a hashtag with the students in my class. And some students will take notes on Twitter as I'm presenting in the classroom. If there's something that they think is important or relevant, they can tweet about it. And here we start to create a sort of a collection of classroom wisdom. Things that people think are important now are grouped with this particular hashtag. One student in particular here, Patrick Feeney, is using Twitter, I think, in a fantastic way. And he made available to me a great article that he had read on the Chronicle of Higher Education. Highly recommend you check this out. There's a professor by the name of David Parry who teaches a class on disruptive technology, who tweets as he teaches. So as he's presenting at the front of the class, he will from time to time send out a tweet. And here he's creating a series of multimodal communication. The way I view this is he's talking to people and then tweeting in a way that's similar to providing subtitles. I don't think I could do this myself. I think my head would explode. But I think this is a great use of the service. And again, I highly recommend you read the article that Patrick retweeted to me, which is available at this link here. I said earlier that Twitter is extensible. There are many ways that you can bolt other applications onto Twitter or bolt Twitter onto your applications and programs. 2 ones that I want to share. The first one is Facebook. You can set up Facebook in such a way that your tweets now become your status updates that you share with the world, which I think is pretty useful. The second one is you can install widgets on web pages. So here I have a web page for Marketing 595, and on the right hand side of the screen I have a little widget that says what I am saying on Twitter. As I tweet, this little widget is updated almost instantaneously, and this provides another sort of vector of information that I can share. On the web page that is accompanying this video podcast, I'll have a link to various ways that you can do this yourself. Anyway, that's me done. That was a quick overview of Twitter. I hope you find this of use, and please check in for next month's Technology Tuesday.